everyone. So I'm in Eger and I'm going to show you the streets today. And there's an Eger sign. So let's check out downtown Eger. And before we go on, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, Instagram. Cheerleading. Yeah, I'm not a cheerleader. So do all those nice little things for me. Thank you. Let's check out Eger. You can get there from Budapest by bus. You need to take bus 1054 from the Stadium bus station. That's right next to the Poplászló Arena, which I just called the UFO. It takes between 2 to 2.5 hours for it to get there. You can get the tickets at the station. There's an app that you can use, but I can't speak about it as I never had to use it. For the day, it's probably easier to just get the ticket at the office. You can also take a train from Budapest. You take it from the Eastern train station. That's actually not far from the UFO as well. There's also an app, but I use the train and never got the app. I always see the conductors fumbling around with it. Whatever you take, just make sure you got tickets for the right date and time. Probably the best is to write it down on a paper and give it to the seller. I've had issues with getting tickets for the wrong time. This is a sculpture composition depicting the fight of a Hungarian soldier and a Turkish horseman made in 1967. It was originally in a different place. The current one is considered temporary. There was a special setup for the European Cup there at the time. This small footbridge passes over the Eger Creek. The creek itself used to be severely polluted because all the trash from the city and from several small businesses, like tanneries and butchers, used to flow into it. Now, in the modern age, it's a clean and pleasant place to be. This is a new statue that was erected in 2021. It depicts the opening scene of Géza Gárdonyi's most famous novel, Eclipse of the Crescent Moon. You can learn more about the book in my video on the history of Eger. It had some controversy surrounding it as the children are naked. Gergő, the boy, is pulling Vicuska, the girl, from the river. This square used to be where the fishmongers sold their catch. Now it's named after the author that wrote the most famous book that takes place mostly in Eger, Géza Gárdonyi. His statue is also here. It's a new statue done in the now popular style of depicting people realistically. He's smoking a pipe that used to be his favorite pastime. This large square is named after the great defender of the castle, István Dobó. To learn more about the Great Siege of Eger, check out my video on the history of Eger. The square is Baroque in style, even though the buildings are a mixture of the styles of the past 2 centuries. It's a great place to hang out during the day in the shades of the trees. Get an ice cream or sit in one of the restaurants and just watch the people enjoy the day. This is the Town Hall building. The building is eclectic in style, similar to several buildings of the late 19th century Hungary. There used to be another Minorite Church, but it was flooded all the time by the creek. In the 18th century, they built a new church and also elevated it so that it wouldn't be flooded anymore. The statue was made by Alajos Strobl in 1907. The central figure is Dobó István with saber drawn. He was the captain of the castle during the siege. His face was taken from the cover of his sarcophagus. Next to him is Dobó throwing a stone. She was one of the famous women of Eger who fought alongside the men. They would boil water and tar, then pour it over the attacking Turks. Mérkey István is standing on the other side. He was also a leader of the defenders. The Archbishop's palace building complex took almost a century and a half to develop, from the beginning of the 18th century until the middle of the 19th century. The group of buildings embraces a roughly square decorative garden, which was open from the east. Currently, a large part of the palace is under renovation. The part that is open now houses a museum of artifacts of the Archbishop. Check out the full video when it becomes available. The Lyceum is the most monumental and one of the most dominant buildings of Eger, the bulk of which defines the inner city. It's the main building of the university and opened in the 18th century. It was a working observatory, and now you can see the beautiful old instruments they used. There is also a small museum of cameras and other objects of science. You can also enjoy a fun scientific presentation, after which you can have fun with the objects they have shown you. A unique feature is a camera obscura on the top of the building. It's a system of reflective mirrors that projects live images from around the city onto a table. No pictures inside, I'm afraid. The terrace on the top of the building gives you the best views. Check out my full video on the Magic Tower, available soon. The minaret was built in the early 17th century and at one time was part of the neighboring Ketuda Mosque. It is the northernmost monument of the 17th century Turkish architecture, 35 meters tall. The cross was put on top in the 19th century. You can go up to the tower. However, it is a lot of steps and very small space, so take that into consideration when planning your journey. Thank you for joining me on this virtual tour of the city. Please take a look at the other videos I made of Eger.